Hi everyone! So today I wanted to make my coming out video. For starters, my name is Hayley. I'm 17 years old, 18 next month, and I'm a lesbian. I've heard many coming out stories, but one of the overarching themes is feeling different. I mean, I did feel different, and I thought I knew why. I was born with a condition called hydrocephalus, which I believe has affected the way I think and my personality. I just attributed all of my troubles with fitting in and relating to my peers to that. But little did I know there was more to it. In 6th grade, year 7 for British people, I developed my first crush on a guy, so I was like, yay, I'm normal! But I also developed weird feelings for this girl that I was friends with at the time. I didn't know homosexuality was like a thing. My parents had never told me that it was possible for men to be attracted to men or women to women. My only reference point for the word gay was when a kid in my 4th grade class called a teacher gay. It was treated like a dirty word, and I blame this ignorance for me not realizing who I was. This first crush was followed by a period of boy craziness, as is typical for girls between 12 and 14, but I felt at some level like it was all obligatory, like I was doing it to show everyone that I was like them and not to give anyone a reason to worry about me or make fun of me. Sometime in 8th grade or year 9, I developed a passion for LGBT rights. I think it started when the Westboro Baptist Church picketed a concert of my favorite band, All Time Low. I didn't know much about homosexuality, and I didn't know about the ongoing fight to give people in this community equal rights, but I knew in my heart that Westboro Baptist Church were wrong, and they kind of upset me with how they wrote off an entire group of people and were willing to go to such lengths to make everyone know their opinions. To me, homophobia was as disgusting as racism. But regardless, I moved on to high school and joined my school's Gay-Straight Alliance, where I made so many friends. As far as I know, I was one of the few straight people there. And this was when I was starting to have feelings for a female friend of mine. Feelings that were more than friendly. And it was also the time when I realized I had depression, which went undiagnosed for about 5 months. I also self-harmed, purposely sabotaged most of my long-standing friendships, and did a lot of things that I grew to regret. But I've made peace with it now, because if it weren't for that, I wouldn't be the person I am today. The next school year was even worse for me. I stopped questioning my sexuality because I had so much else going on. I had surgery in November 2011 and was hospitalized for about a week. But the physical and emotional pain surrounding that time was so insurmountable. Then I was bullied by a teacher for 3 months until I had an emotional breakdown in April of 2012. I was out of school for about 2 weeks, and when I came back, I just tried to keep my head down and get through the rest of the year alive. But that's a different story. I actually met Mary during this time, and our friendship was one of the things from that time that I held on to. The following summer, I finally allowed myself to truly process what happened and evaluate myself and what I needed to do in order to move past what happened to me. Sometime in July, I subconsciously realized that I was bisexual, but I still clung to my identity as a straight woman because that was pretty much all I knew. Fall of 2012 was difficult, but I met a girl who I fell hard for, and this time I acted on it. We flirted and talked all the time. When November came, I realized things were getting too hard to keep quiet about. I was acutely aware of the closet that I was in, and I felt it getting more cramped and harder to breathe every single day. I remember stumbling upon a coming out video by Lucy of Kaylin and Lucy, and I immediately felt better because at the time I didn't know how popular they were, so to me it was just someone like me who had overcome obstacles that come with being in the LGBT plus community, and something about her story just put me at ease. Then a marriage equality bill for my state was to be voted on at the 2012 election. I figured if it passed, it would show me that my state was progressing and making a safer place for those in my community. So I made a little deal with myself. I decided that if the bill did pass, I would come out the following Thursday at my Gay Straight Alliance meeting. Well, it passed, and I came out to them, and the world didn't stop spinning. I was still Hayley, and everyone who already loved me still loved me, but no more and no less than they had already loved me before they knew I was bi. I came out on Tumblr and got the most supportive and loving reception from my best friend Maddie, and that was what gave me confidence to come out to my mom. I think at some level I idealized my coming out to her to the point where in hindsight I wouldn't have been quite happy with whatever the outcome ended up being. We talked briefly about homosexuality before, and I knew she had voted yes to the bill, and also that she was friends with a lesbian couple in our church. But there was still the possibility in my mind that she would view me differently or love me differently. I was scared and sad and disappointed in myself, both because I felt like I'd been hiding and because I felt like I was insulting her by believing for a second that her love and support for me would change because of that. I was just so tearful that night, and I think she thought it was something much worse. Anyway, she unfortunately, not knowing how much I'd thought I'd had really put into it, which I think was about 5 years on and off, and she thought it was just a phase and that I wasn't quite sure yet, but I knew I was. I was very final about things. I didn't want to say anything to anyone until I was able to say, yes, I'm bisexual, and that's part of what sort of took her off guard. During the summer, I had been wanting to talk to someone about my confusion, but I was scared that if nothing came of it and I was just straight, they'd think I was faking or something. And even though my reasoning for it was very backwards, since most people in my life would have helped me without judgment to the best of their abilities, I think I made the right decision in not talking to anyone. People can definitely offer support and guidance, but it's ultimately up to you to figure out and say to yourself, yes, I'm gay, or yes, I'm bisexual, or whatever. The next few months after that were a bit awful. I had taken a preference to girls and became a huge flirt, which was completely uncharacteristic of me. I can't really justify my behavior other than the fact that I think I felt a sense of, well, I'm bi and I'm out, now what? During spring break, I took a huge leap of faith and came out to my older sister. We've never had the perfect relationship, but as cliche as it is, I appreciate her so much since she's been away at college the past 5 years. She was home at the time on spring break, and I believe it was the evening after my last day of school. It was one of the periods of time where we were getting along. She invited me to go shopping, just the two of us. We were in the car and something gripped me. I had to tell her for some reason. I started off the conversation with asking what she'd voted on the bill that had changed everything for me. She said she'd voted in favor, and then asked why I'd asked, and also asked if I was gay. And I said no, and that I was bi, and she said that was cool, and she voiced the fact that she didn't believe in bisexuality, but she supported me if that was how I felt. She wasn't being homophobic, she just couldn't see how you could have feelings for both genders rather than one or the other, and I can kind of see where she was coming from. Over the course of the evening, she asked me polite questions about when I knew and how it felt and everything. I was just so ecstatic that everything had gone well and had stayed low-key and casual as I'd wanted it to. During the month of April, I started getting some very specific anonymous messages on Tumblr to do with sexuality and how I was going about it wrong. They weren't hateful, but it almost felt like this person knew me better than I knew myself, and it was a little disarming. April 28th was a night like that, where I was getting these messages, Then, seemingly from a different person, I started receiving messages asking me about what attracted me in men and women, what my celebrity crushes were, and things like that. And then I received a message that said, if we lived in the same country, I'd really want to take you out, you on a date. I had no idea you were bi. Stupid Ocean. I honestly thought this message was a one-off, that I'd reply and ask them to come forward off and on, but they wouldn't, and that would be that. But guess who it was? It was Mary. It felt so surreal because when we first started talking on Tumblr, I had this instant attraction to her, even though I wasn't positive what I was at the time. I was so glad it was her. Honestly, I was a bit shocked because we hadn't spoken for several months, but it was overall a pleasant surprise. We talked over Tumblr messages, and I said that I wanted a relationship, but she was hesitant because both of her previous experiences with long distance ended terribly because of the other person, and at that point I didn't push it any further. We agreed to Skype the next day, pretty much right after school for me. It was a Monday, but instead of being tired and burnt out, I was buzzing with excitement. We Skyped for about 3 or 4 hours, and the conversation was winding down a bit. I asked her how she felt about a relationship with me after having Skyped me, and she said she wanted to be in a relationship. I was honestly hesitant to go public right away because of all my previous relationship experiences ending really fast, but those had been with guys, and Mary was unlike anyone I'd ever dated or even been interested in. She had such a fierce commitment to our relationship, and this emotional dedication that was so strikingly similar to my own that I instantly knew we were perfectly matched. A few weeks in, she made me take a simplified Kinsey test online, and it told me what I already knew, that I was not right in the middle between being gay and straight, but leaning more towards being gay. Sometime last summer, I realized that if, God forbid, I wasn't with Mary, I had little to no interest in being with guys. At that point, I could look at a man and say, "That's an attractive man." But there was no physical desire, nor did I really feel like there was a potential for that kind of intimate emotional connection with a man. I came out as gay very casually because most people already knew, had assumed I was, or didn't really care since it wasn't a big deal. There was a very, very short phase of even a few days where I was disappointed in myself for not being a cookie-cutter American girl, but I got over that. I'm so sorry for rambling, but my point in telling my story is that first, everyone in the LGBT+ community has their story, and I wanted to share mine, and that I want to show people that, say it with me, it gets better. In some ways, you have to make things better by yourself, and for me, this was a bitter reality to accept. But once I did, things became easier for me. Alright, that's it. Thank you so much for watching. Bye!